Good evening, everyone. It's very, very late here over in Southwest Missouri. Sorry I didn't get a vlog up the last couple days. Thursday, we had a family function at a memorial service and a barbecue, so didn't get around to it then. Also, yesterday, I think I was just too tired. Like, I'm tired more now than I was yesterday. But I've been thinking about the content I was going to discuss in tonight's vlog, which I'm still trying to come up with a name for. I'm thinking maybe the Sin Bin or something, or I don't know. We'll get to that when we get to it. But today, I want to discuss something that really bothers me from the NHL's standpoint, at least from the office of the commissioner of the NHL, and that's Mr. Gary Bettman, most popular man in the world next to Roger Goodell, and dude running the country. But no politics here. I hate politics on every level. I really don't understand how anybody can enjoy it, but I digress. Gary Bettman earlier this year was very, very adamant in stating that his players will not play in the next Winter Olympic Games, which, part of my language, is complete bullshit. If you're a brand in North America, primarily the United States, and you're constantly fourth in the big four of North American pro sports leagues, despite being a freaking awesome game and one of the most worldwide popular sports, if you're having trouble creating like mainstream stars and having a popular mainstream sport on the level of pro football or basketball or college football, why would you not allow your athletes to perform on the highest stage possible on a global scale in the Olympics? What you're doing is you're taking away visibility that a lot of your young stars could gain, like your Austin Matthews, who would possibly play for Team USA, or your Connor McDavids, or Connor McJesus for you Oilers fans out there, who would play for Team Canada. And trust me, at 19, 20 years old, he would be on Team Canada right now. Guy just won the scoring title, MVP, third youngest MVP in league history. You're denying the global audience who watches the Olympics a chance to see that guy play, a chance to see him play with a Sidney Crosby or some of the other elite Canadian players, or Alex Ovechkin, who had said for a while that even if the league said no, he was going to go play anyway. I respect the hell out of that, but I don't think they would have allowed him to do so, because I'm not sure contractually how he could get out of that and still play for Russia and then come back to the NHL. I don't know how that would work, but I think they would have told him no anyway. As a Blues fan, as you can see by my really sweet banner back here, I love me some Vladimir Tarasenko. He won't get to play for Team Russia. I mean, he got to play in the World Cup of Hockey, which was cool. Um, World Cup of Hockey, I mean, it was nice for what it was, but basically it was a fabricated attempt to create their own Olympics without it actually being the Olympics. You know, Team North America with all these young kids out there, and you have Team Europe instead of these guys just representing their countries. I wasn't the biggest fan of trying to create and manufacture your own tournament instead of just letting these guys go out and play for their countries. Like in the NHL, these players love to play for and represent their countries and wear, the colors of their nations. Your Sweden's and Finland's, United States, Canada. You're taking that away from the biggest and best hockey players in the world. Because trust and believe, the NHL has the best players in the world. And basically, what Gary Bettman is doing has set up the Winter Olympics for ice hockey to be won by Russia or Sweden. Basically, the United States or Canada, as long as Bettman says NHL players cannot play, will not medal. And here's the reason why. If you take away all of the Canadian players and the U.S. born players that would participate in the Olympics and represent their countries, you take all of that away, basically, the United States would consist of players who are still in junior hockey and college stars. Now, those are generally kids who physically are not developed enough to play at the NHL level or a worldwide level. They will not have the luxury that countries, say, like Russia or Sweden or Finland or the Czech Republic, even Germany, would have because they have their own pro leagues in their countries. Canada would be having to deal with the same problem, except they wouldn't get the luxury of having college studs to represent their country. It would be nothing but junior players and maybe some former NHLers who are past their prime and can't get a contract to even play in the AHL. Those might be the best players that the United States and Canada could get are AHL players who don't have NHL contracts. They're just signed to the minor league squad. That does not sit well with Canadian hockey fans and U.S. hockey fans, because if you would root for the United States, you get deprived of the chance to see, Ryan Suter and Carey. No, Carey Price is Canadian, but Canadian fans will get deprived of him too. But if you're a U.S. guy, you don't get to see Patrick Kane play or David Backes or all these other great U.S. born players. And in Canada, Lord knows, you don't get Crosby. You don't get guys like Drew Doughty, Carey Price, Shea Weber. The best roster that you could possibly assemble damn near is always going to be Canadian. But with Mr. Popularity saying, no, you guys cannot go play, Russia is going to run through the Olympics, which I would have no problem with because, once again, my favorite blues player is Russian. My favorite hockey player of all time, Pavel Bure, completely Russian. But they have the luxury of having the KHL. Now, for those of you who don't know, that's the Continental Hockey League, Russian Super League. And it houses several highly skilled former NHL players and guys who have just played exclusively over there. Now, there's a couple of former big NHL stars you might recognize by name: Ilya Kovalchuk, Pavel Datsyuk. Now, they're on the twilight of 30, but they're still elite level players and putting up ridiculous numbers over there. A guy who just signed with the Dallas Stars, Alex Radulov, he came back to the NHL from the KHL, and he's the all-time leading scorer in the history of that league. I think it really sucks that Gary Bettman is telling these guys that, no, we don't want you to represent your country on a global scale like the Olympics and help build the brand that is the National Hockey League. Just tell me how much sense that makes. That would be like the United States being told for the World Baseball Classic, I believe is what it's called. I'm that tired right now. Normally I'd be spot on with this, but I'm that damn tired. But the baseball tournament they have every few years, that would be like Major League Baseball Commissioner Rob Manfred saying, no, none of my guys can go participate in it. So basically, Dominican Republic, Japan would run through that every time they have this tournament. See the problem there? You're not showcasing your best talent, allowing these guys to build your brand and give some, identity outside of your hardcore fan base, which is what the NHL primarily consists of, are diehard, loyal, hardcore fans. The last time that the league had an accepted megastar was probably Mario Lemieux when he came back from his Hodgkin's disease in 2000. And before then, Wayne. Crosby, for as big a star as he is not loved and universally praised by everybody for a multitude of reasons that we're not going to get into. He is a fantastic hockey player, though. Sorry to my buddy Chris, who's a big Flyers fan and hates everything about the Penguins except Jaromir Jagr, because who doesn't love the mullet? Um, you're taking away a chance for Russia to showcase Ovi, who's not getting any younger, but still has a ton of game left. To showcase guys like Tarasenko, who could easily represent the Blues in a gold medal, or Panarin, who plays for Columbus now, who's a hyper skilled forward. You're taking away that opportunity, and then with the United States, Austin Matthews, to me, is the future of U.S. hockey as the next great face of U.S. hockey. You know, we had several guys who are Hall of Famers that represented this country greatly. You know, Brian Leach, Mike Modano, you know, Mike Richter, who played, I think, in more international games than anybody, especially as a goalie, which is awesome. But you're taking away that opportunity to showcase these young guys and, you know, the stars you already have. You're trying to build a brand. Why keep it basically as a niche when you easily could be as big as Major League Baseball or the NBA? I mean, the NBA is a long ways away, but you could get to that level. You got to allow these guys to become bigger stars outside of the sport of hockey. It's possible. I mean, growing up in an era where hockey players had their names on video games. I have one downstairs, Brett Hole Hockey on Sega Genesis. Great game. But he had, you know, these guys had their own games that were licensed and branded on everything. Nowadays, the closest you get to that are dude pops up on the cover of an NHL game, which now is Connor McDavid. First dude to play for the Oilers to be on the cover of a video game that I can recall. Gretzky doesn't count, he wasn't active. But that's the closest you get to these guys branching over into being a bigger brand. You know, in the NBA, you have players that are their own brand, that are more popular than the league, like LeBron James. You know, Michael Jordan. Like, you see that guy back there grabbing the rebound? Michael Jeffrey Jordan. Greatest basketball player of all time. Big brand. Jordan is a massive brand. I don't see anybody in the NHL having their own line of skates like Jordan has his own line of sneakers. You know, Ovi could have his own line of skates if he wanted to, because he was the only one wearing yellow laces. We don't have that kind of thing. There isn't that one player that crosses over into mainstream. Now, I'm not saying that hockey has to be mainstream acceptable to be cool, because Lord knows that's not the case. But we don't have that guy. It's kind of like with wrestling, where people back in the day who didn't like wrestling, but they're like, oh, I know that's what Hulk Hogan does. Or that's what Steve Austin did, or The Rock. Does he still wrestle? No. But to my point, the NHL is in dire need of having that crossover megastar that could make them more acceptable to mainstream media and sports. You know, if we had that, then there would be more coverage of the NHL on ESPN other than the Penguins, Blackhawks, and Capitals. Trust me, I get tired of that. And you believe me, Vegas is going to get more press than the Blues will this year on ESPN because they're new. But you see my point, by not allowing these guys to go out and play in the Olympics, you take away a chance for them to branch out the sport. And because of that, if this continues, then Gary Bettman, you're not doing any favors to the league, to the organizations, and to the players. And I'm damn sure you're doing a disservice to the fans. So, free the players, let them play in the Olympics. Besides, when you do that, you get things like the Golden Goal game with Canada and U.S. I want to say 2010 when that happened. You get great things like that. But now you're taking this away, and basically you're going to have Sweden and Russia playing in the gold medal game for all eternity until you let these guys play. So, free the players. And stop putting hockey teams in places like Las Vegas. Thank you. Hope you guys like the video. This will also be going up on YouTube at some point, so feel free to check it out. Peace.